Right, hello guys, my name's KiwiT and this is my first speed build. So what I was thinking is that I've got this world that's in progress. It's Grimschurch. It's based on a sort of art deco sort of gangster movie sort of thing, film noir, and this is just a little family residence that I wanted to make. It's on a very weird lot. It's sort of slanted down into the hill, and I wanted it to be a couple, so a doctor and his wife, and they have the doctor's mother living with them in a little sort of compartmenty area. And I really hadn't given any thought to what the house would look like or anything before I started. I just sort of went in and played around. And this is so what I'm thinking here is I want a sort of plain house that isn't very remarkable, but with an addition onto it, so like a little sunroom. So that it's got a sense of history, like it's been around a while, it's had things added on, and a nice little garden out the back for the grandmother to potter around in. Well, she's not a grandmother, there aren't any kids in this household, but the mother. And I had a lot of trouble selecting the windows at first. It's very difficult because EA doesn't supply a lot of matching sets, I've noticed. So this is going to be a little sunroom. So I want some plants and some ferns or whatever in there. My grandmother had a sunroom sort of like that on her house, and it was always a very nice place to stay. And I realized as I was doing all these walls that I didn't have room for a bathroom pretty much anywhere, so I ended up, in a second I'll make a basement, because I just didn't have much choice in terms of where to fit the bathroom area alongside the rooms. So that cross-shaped room is going to be the kitchen. It's all going a bit quick, sorry. It's sort of varies between 8 times and 6 times speed. And I should explain that I always build my buildings in white so that I can concentrate on the form and sort of see what the shape is and how it looks. It's similar to working with clay or ceramics or anything like that. You sort of start with your bisqueware and don't add any glazes or anything until afterwards. I sort of take the same approach to building in The Sims. And I wanted a little sort of chess stuff and some bees. I wanted a nice sort of cottage feel, but very sort of restrained, not much in there. I'm trying to keep the number of items down because I'm thinking of building for a world, right? So I don't want the lots to be overloaded with stuff. I don't want them to sort of provide any sort of challenge to someone with a mid-range machine coming in and checking out the world. So I'm really trying to reuse the same patterns when I start adding patterns in color, reusing the same colors even, just a lot of reuse without going too far. And also, you might have noticed in the general palette of the world, it's quite murky, so I want to do the same thing with the house. I want sort of a murky pastel feel to most of the buildings. And this isn't really going to be an Art Deco place. This is just going to be an old house that like I said before, that's just sort of been around the block a few times. Yeah, and I always like having bird cages and pet stuff in homes with elders, because when I'm old, I want pets. I couldn't live without my little cat. And I still feel a bit strange about the way the kitchen turned out. If you guys have any advice or like criticism, I'd love to hear it, because it's in this sort of awkward position in the hall there, but I'm sort of happy with how it turns out. You'll see towards the end. Right, so getting some flooring down and playing around with the outside sort of cobbling. And I like to always change from the original cast unless it's really super suitable to what I'm doing. And I think I went for browns. Yeah, I want a sense of sort of this world. Everything's a bit faded, a bit old, because it's not actually set in the Art Deco period. It's a modern world that has a sort of hangover from the Art Deco period. So it's got a lot of sort of architecture that's 50 years old or so, and some little housing around the outskirts that's even older, so the sort of farming areas are older than the town itself. And perhaps around the outskirts of the town there's little vestiges of what was there before the town built up. I like having a sense of history in the worlds. I had a lot of trouble with these walls because I tried putting I've got these friends that used to live in this place, and they had this beautiful sort of newspaper wallpaper with a sort of weird like shellac covering, but less pronounced than shellac. It was very nice, and it looked a little bit like that, but not. It looks terrible in this, so I give up on it. I have a bad habit of. I'm not an interior decorator, a bad habit of making quite ugly sort of wallpapers and stuff. So I just went in with the wood paneling afterwards, and I chose a sort of fern thing here because I quite like ferns, and it's the sort of thing I would put on my wall, but then people would look horrified at the sort of thing I would put on my wall most of the time. So yeah, I like that sort of baby shit brown with ferns imprinted on it sort of look. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about the lack of matching windows, which I know people always bring up, and whether I need to turn to custom content to deal with that problem, because it's very frustrating. I really think that Maxis should just release sets of windows rather than 3 windows. It's not enough. There should be 5 or 6 to each style of window, just so that with different dimensions on different buildings you can actually get what you want. But I realize that what drives the content creation is what they need in the worlds, and if they don't need to add that extra stuff, then they probably won't. They have been willing to in the past, but there's a limit. And so I'm pretty satisfied with the way it's looking, the exterior. And with this blue, I did actually decide it was suitable enough that I was going to use it, even though I didn't change it from the cast. It's got that nice sort of lemony off-white with the light blue, and I thought that just looked good with the browns, so I ran with that. And I like the red bird cage. I like using weave in houses too, because the Pacific woven stuff is quite big here. So I always like woven mats and things like that, even though this isn't actually set in the Pacific Islands like Nua Samoa or my other worlds. And I decided they needed a little bit of room out the back there because I got that little indent, and I thought if anyone was playing this house or the family in this house, they might decide they wanted to put a barbecue there or something. I'm not actually going to put one because I want to keep the price down, but I thought that was a good sort of use for that back area, and that maybe I should just make some room for it. And so here, up here is the main bedroom for the couple, and then a little sort of what would you call it? A little sort of apartment area for the mother. So this is going to have a little kitchenette and a little toilet and stuff in it, so that she doesn't have to go all the way down to the basement to go to the bathroom at night. The sort of place that a couple who had an elder move in with them might set up, so that she was comfortable and reasonably independent. And I decided to get rid of the parquet up the top because usually it's carpeting on higher levels, I think. And just lots of tiling around the sort of splash likely places. I spent a lot of time sort of realizing that I didn't really know where the bed could go or what I could do here. And I settled there. It's a bit of an awkward position, but I make the room sort of work around it in the end. I think I do. You can disagree in the comments. And I had a lot of trouble selecting the curtains. And actually I forgot to select any curtains for the lower part of the house, but I wasn't too worried. I think the bedrooms are the main concern. I don't know. Do you mind people watching you cook? It's supposed to be a reasonably quiet street anyway. I don't know how that will work in game. It's hard when you sort of create a fiction like that. This is a quiet street, and then probably all the Sims will just flock to it and start rushing through it all the time. I didn't really know what a doctor and his wife, what their room would look like. I know doctors, but they're all young. And so I was sort of playing around. I thought it would just be a nice plain room, and that she'd quite like something a little more bright and lively compared to the rest of the house. So I sort of ramp the palette up a bit compared to the rest of the pastels, and make it a sort of sort of bright sort of red and green sort of theme in the end. And I did playtest this TV sort of setup, and it works fine. I was a bit worried that it could mess with the routing. I thought, well, a doctor, he probably wants to be fit, so I chucked some gym equipment in there, and then I promptly removed it and put a fish tank. The mother has the likes animals trait, so the bird and the fish tank are really there for her benefit. And I'm not going to upload this world, this lot, because it's on such a weird shape, as you can see there. I'm just going to upload it with the world, and I didn't really add any roof lighting or anything. I really had to play around to get good lighting, just with the invisible lights. So they turn on when a sim goes in and off, and if you want to turn on the lighting, you have to click on one of the external lights and sort of turn it on or off, really, using the all lights function, which is a bit annoying. And I probably shouldn't have done it that way, but you get used to these little kludges when you're building a world and you sort of want it to be the way you want. I had to play around here with a bunch of different setups, and realized that I was using different toilets and stuff upstairs, so I went back up and I changed them to the same one. Like I said, I just want everything to be reused so that it's only loading one different object, one mesh at a time, if I can. So if I use something in one lot, I try to keep using it in other lots unless I really don't have to. But then you've got to sort of be creative and make it look like it's not the same. Because it can get a bit monotonous as well, doing it that way. I like this bathroom because it reminds me of my grandmother's bathroom too. We used to go over and she'd have these strange pastels everywhere, the sort of funny oranges and light blues and stuff. So I'm happy enough with this. And she had these weird smelling, those bath balls? Very weird smelling bath balls that we would be very bad with pop them in the sink just because they smelled good. Yeah. She was a sort of a wealthy lady, so she liked her little fancy, nice smelling things. It was very silly bathroom. Right, and just reusing that same wood all through this room and trying to make it. I actually thought about using it on the fence below, but it was a bit too dark. and just playing around with the colours of the room. I made that grey because I realised at that point that I was going to make the walls red, and I thought the red and grey would go well together. So I'm not actually thinking about the blue at this point. I'm thinking about quite a different colour scheme, mainly because of the window frames have that green on them. So here I am, I'm adding the dark, and then I go to a sort of maroony red, and then I think I changed the carpet to a green, yeah, the door and the carpet. So it's got quite a contrast to the rest of the house, and I know some people might hate that colour scheme, but I don't mind it. I think it's okay. And just reusing it on the same bed, because often people have the same sets of bed sheets anyway, so I figure that's a realistic reason to reuse. I didn't want the same sort of counter here, same style. I tried to play around with the white wear and make it match. And then I just wanted a little bit of detailing around the roof area there, so I think I changed that to sort of lemon with the dark brown, sort of a apricot-y colour, and there's a bit of lag. And I think next we're going to go through and tour the world a bit, and I was thinking about what I could do there, but I just decided no, I want to keep it the same as it was. It's got enough going on as it is, so I get rid of that and leave the siding up the top there. Yep. And now just a sort of laggy, messy walkthrough. Skype Click to Call was making the game lag an awful lot, and I didn't work out what it was until afterwards, so there were lots of sort of strange pauses. This isn't too bad, but at some point in this I think there's a bit of a bad hook. And those curtains, now that I look, are actually slightly less grey than I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be more Bastille, like that wardrobe, but I could probably change that quickly. I like the garden. And I like the bees with the bird cage and the stuff. I think it's a great place for someone who loves animals. So yeah, if you can think of a name for this lot, let me know in the comments, because I always have trouble. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a simple little thing. Okay, bye.